Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from
Dant'e.
An inmate at the Jackson Correctional Institution. All calls, other than properly placed attorney calls, may be monitored and recorded. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2.
If you would like to permanently block your number from receiving calls from this facility, press
6.
for balance and rate quotes, press
7. Thank you for using
CenturyLink.
You may start the conversation now.
This is the Incarcerate U.S. podcast. I'm your host, Dant'e Cottingham. And this morning, I'm speaking to former president of Ohio Cure and founder of the Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry Organization, Mr. James Kronenberger. How you doing this morning, brother?
Real good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'd like to thank you, man, for taking the time to have a discussion. I've been looking forward to talking to you.
Sure.
I got some questions for you, but before I get into some of those questions, please tell us a little bit about the work you guys are doing through the Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry Organization.
Well, when we founded this group, our main primary concern was the parole board, that all people would have a fair opportunity for parole. In Ohio last year, around 1,400 went through the parole board and 100 was paroled. That's like a 9% ratio, which is one of the worst in the United States. We have 53,000 locked up and two laws. Those that were sentenced before 1996 has to see the parole board, and those who get life sentences after 1996, like murder and stuff like that, see the parole board. Everybody else gets flat time, so they have a shorter sentences after 1996 for the same crime.
Okay, I understand. So what's the effort? What's your team's efforts in dealing with that issue?
Well, we just started a national campaign with several other organizations. We would like to add a inmate advocate to the parole board, since most states that have parole boards have victims advocates. We would like fair representation, and also a oversight committee that would deal with denied paroles to see why paroles were denied. And
go ahead. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Yeah. In the past, we tried to draft big bills where it would overhaul the whole parole board. That's not going to happen. So we figure if we get small little things introduced, get those passed, they would turn into larger things in the future.
What's been the biggest pitfalls? What's been the biggest obstacle in confronting that issue from your perspective?
It seems like, people just want to be tough on crime and not fair. And I have no problem with tough on crime philosophy, but be fair. Give our people a fair opportunity, for release. They have parents, they have kids, they have family too that love them, and, keeping them locked up is not going to change the outcome for the victim. Absolutely.
And upward of 97% of people are coming home, correct? So you would think that would be the approach that people take. Unfortunately, it's not. But I respect that. I definitely respect that effort. And that's a great idea to have somebody on the inmate on the parole board. Brings a level of empathy that somebody that hasn't been in prison couldn't bring to the board.
Right, and I would like to see that advocate to go in and meet the inmates, to talk to them, to get to know them. I'd like to see the other parole board members to do that as well. But,
Absolutely.
It seems like they only take the victim side. All the positive letters, go to the wayside sometimes.
Absolutely. So do you encounter a lot of resistance from the public with regards to your mission? And if so, what would you like for the public to know that you think they may not know about your mission?
Well, when we're dealing with people that are getting parole, the recidivism rate is very low. I think in Ohio it's around 20% for those that were sentenced, before 1996. Murders at like 3% in Ohio, to reoffend. And sex offenders, if treated, are the second lowest. And at one time they were like at 4.5%. But what's hurting us is
All calls, other than properly placed attorney calls, may be monitored and recorded.
Please continue.
So we have a lot of work to do. Part of our job is to educate our legislators as well as the public on the people who are incarcerated, that they're not bad people. Some of them might have done bad things, but and then we have that percentage of people who is not guilty of their crime.
So despite what the politicians and the media may say, releasing people from prison isn't necessarily connected to further crimes. You know how they like to make it seem like you have to be feared. People have to fear releasing people from prison, but based upon the percentages of the recidivism rate, it doesn't sound like people have much to fear from a lot of the people that's coming home from prison.
Right, and the news media a lot of times puts the fear in people. Now, Columbus, where I live, the news media is not too bad, but if you go to like Cuyahoga County, the news really likes to single on people coming out of prison and harass them. And I've seen that so many times, and that doesn't help our cause.
Absolutely. Now, so do your organization focus on Ohio prisoners and the Ohio criminal justice system exclusively?
That's what we know the most about, but we're reaching out to other states, and we believe someday in the future we're going to be in a national organization like here. We already have other states that would like to start chapters and other cities in the state of Ohio as well.
Okay. So if someone in Ohio, let's say somebody wanted to participate with your efforts, somebody wanted to be a volunteer, how could they reach you? And is there a specific kind of help, a specific kind of volunteer resources that you need to help you guys be more effective in Ohio?
Right, and it could be nationally too. They could reach us by our email, which is called small letters, which is fairtreatmentreform@gmail.com, or they can call me at 614-404-4924.
Okay. And I'm gonna make sure that all that information is posted along with this podcast because what you guys are doing is a great thing, and I encourage people to come and help because I'm sure you need as much as help as you can get.
Yeah, the problem is getting families of the incarcerated involved. I know some of them are elderly, so they can't, come out to our events. If they could help out financially, that helps because everything costs money to print up educational material. So,
absolutely.
And we are 501c3 as well.
Okay. And it's my understanding that there's a fair treatment reform and reentry conference coming up soon. Tell us about that and what's the date and the location, if anybody listening wants to attend.
Okay, that's July 21st from 1 to 4. If you would like a table, you need to contact me as soon as possible. You would need to be there at 12. It's at Rema Christian Center, 2100 Egler Road in Columbus, Ohio. And we have some great keynote speakers. We don't work that, specifically with the ODRC here in Ohio, but we do have our director coming because he does care about reentry. But when it comes to parole, we're going to fight him tooth and nail.
Okay.
But, we're going to work with them on the things we can, and the things we can't, we're going to try to change so that people have a fair chance. But we have our drug court judge is going to be one of the speakers. We have breakout sessions. The state rep's going to talk about how a bill's introduced. Judge Bandekar is going to talk about the Vivitrol shot. So it's going to be unique, and we have over 40 tables of different people that's going to have literature out.
Okay, July 21st. And I'm going to put all of that information along with this podcast as well. Like I said, I have tremendous respect for what you guys are doing. You certainly got an ally in me. And I would like to invite you back because I'm sure our listeners would like to know how the conference went and what was said and what was going on there. So I'd like to invite you back, man. After the conference, we can have another discussion.
I would love that.
So it brings me to my question. And I'm interested. I know you've been involved in these efforts for a long time. So I'm looking forward to hearing your answer to this question. I think that most Americans have been impacted by mass incarceration either directly or indirectly. How, James, has mass incarceration affected you? Or what motivated you to get involved in this mission.
But spending over 20 years in prison,
Okay.
I took a plea bargain because I was threatened that I was going to get more time. I was not guilty of the crime that I was convicted of. I was guilty of something, just not what I was charged with.
Right.
And you just don't get a fair chance. And years ago, and it may still be happening, black people did not have a chance when they went in front of a judge, especially in some of the counties that are dominantly white.
Right.
And, we would like to see them have the best chance as well as white people. Everybody should have a great counsel, even if it's a public defender. They should do their job and make sure that they can get you what you deserve, if it's no sentence or as small of a sentence, and programming.
Absolutely.
The best option should be always is treatment for those, especially when you have 40% of our population doing 2 years or less and a dominantly drug offenses type crimes. Putting them to prison is not going to help them. But then how many chances do you give them before they do get sentenced? We need treatment. We need better treatment for sex offenders, for violent offenders, and we need to mentor them as they get out so that, one of our goals is no new victims.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's for any of us that was incarcerated or for those who are incarcerated now. Work on a stay-out plan, not necessarily a get-out plan, which we all try to do regardless. But put down 5 men who could be your mentors if you're a male or female, if you're including your mother, unless it's using addict, and put down where you're going to live, what programs you want to take when you get out, and
absolutely.
That will help you stay out. I couldn't stay out before because I never did any of that.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. As a prisoner, as a current prisoner, I agree that no incarceration is not the answer. Obviously, incarceration is required in any kind of just society, no question about it. But extreme forms of incarceration, that's not the answer either. And I think that's the state that we're in right now.
Right. Right.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we are trying to learn about other states' institutions. I'm going to help a lady that's got somebody incarcerated in Indiana. I have to call their DOC this week. And, I'd love to learn about Wisconsin. What's good about it, what's not good about it, what should be changed, what's working. Because we all know that there's some decent staff and there's some bad staff. It just depends who they are and if they have values.
Absolutely. So tell me, how do you think, from your perspective, how do you believe that America has gotten itself into this incarceration crisis? How does it happen from your point of view?
Well, I think the most part Americans really don't care. They think that people who are locked up deserve to be there instead of knowing the facts, knowing the recidivism rates, and working with them upon their release so that they don't return. That's where we need to do a better job educating. And one of our hopes, and I'm not a big Trump fan, but one of our hopes is that he would take all the federal money away from the prison, and that will start releasing people because of that. They won't have the money to operate.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing I believe he will do, and that's going to help in the long run. And no, we all know there's that probably small handful of people that won't make it on the street, and it's because they choose not to. It's not because of their crime. You have to have a positive outlook upon your release, and that hold hatred, especially if you're wrongfully incarcerated or if you've done 20, 30 years. A lot of them have hatred instead of saying, how can I help those who are behind bars when I get out, instead of forgetting about all our friends.
And as you know, because you stated a moment ago that you did 20 years in prison yourself, as you know, in prison, one of the main agendas amongst the administration is to control you. And some of the tactics that they employ to control you have a tendency to break you. And then so ultimately what they end up doing is they sending people to society broken and expecting them to succeed. And that's not the ingredients for success.
Yeah, you're correct. I just got a call the other day about one institution where they're dragging the men butt naked to the hole.
Absolutely.
And having they're having females strip search them, and we all know that a male is supposed to be strip searched by a male, not a female.
So how can we expect that man who's been humiliated in front of everybody, his dignity stripped from him, how can we expect that man to get out into society, get out into public, and be successful? It's not a rational thought. It's not logical. It's not going to happen. So we got to change those tactics. And some of the things that you're doing is helping push that agenda. So I respect you tremendously for that.
Right, and I think that's where all these groups need to work together and network together and put a stop to it. Volumes of people's what going to change our system. If you only have a few people, don't expect things to change. We
Absolutely.
need the masses from all over the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska, to work together to make the changes that we need as a nation. And I think those changes, I don't know how we're going to be blessed as a nation when we allow these abuses to take place.
And when I look at it, when I look at this problem, this national problem, I see that is the main issue. We're not unified. You have a lot of voices, you got a lot of people, you got a lot of organizations, you got a lot of things going on, but we're not unified. And that was one of the main reasons why I created this podcast, because I intend to talk to people from all over the country and join our voices in one place. United we strong, but individually we strong, but united we unstoppable.
Right, that's why it's so important, like you said, to get people from California on your show, Florida,
yes.
And say, let's work together. They can reach out to us here in Ohio. We're willing to reach out to them, and let's have a big march in Washington. We're planning on going to the one in August, but let's have one just for prisoners, not necessarily prisoners' rights, but fair laws for who are incarcerated. Because we know that there's some rights that we are not going to have.
Absolutely.
But let's form a big march, maybe next year or something, and see what we can do.
Well, I tell you this: you have a friend in me, and anything that I can do, if you know anybody else that wants to participate, you have a friend in me. I'm an ally in forever. So it's
you're awesome, man. And I will reach out to other people for you.
I appreciate it. So let me ask you my final question. What do you believe are the first steps in the solution for complete prison reform in America?
I would say it would be awareness.
Awareness.
We need to have people be aware of what's happening, including inmates. There's a lot of inmates that's blind to the system, especially the younger kids. They think it's cool. They could go in there and be part of a gang, which I don't support gang activity. I did when I was younger and first got locked up.
Right.
But we need to educate our young people, and we need unity. We don't need a riot in our prisons, but we need them to have an open ear, listen to us, promote us to their families, and then their families promote it to their neighbors, and then we need to reach the churches, the Christian churches, the Islamic churches, Jewish churches. Prison doesn't discriminate against religion. They lock up anybody.
Absolutely.
So we need to accept the Wiccans. I mean, all my friends. I have a lot of Wiccan friends. I might not agree with their faith, but I respect them.
Absolutely.
And we need to just reach out to everybody we can. We need to get on the media, the newspaper.
Absolutely. And you're right. You're absolutely right. And we've seen it before. We've seen other issues, the civil rights issues. People from all kings from all over the country, they came together and they changed things. And it's going to take the same effort with prison reform in America. It's going to take the same kind of unity, the same kind of effort, the same kind of sweat, the same kind of push, the same kind of struggle. It can happen, but we have to come together to do it.
Right, our races need to come together. It's not a black issue. It's not
absolutely.
It's a person issue.
Absolutely. Well, let me thank you for. I don't want the phone to cut us off. Unfortunately, we only have 20 minutes. I get it now. We just said 1 minute. I get a feeling that we could have continued this conversation for a long time. It's a pleasure talking to you. I want to thank you, man, for taking the time this morning. Remember, you have a friend in me, and my invitation to you to come back is open. But this is Dant'e signing off.
Give our best regards to all your friends in Milwaukee there.
I will do. This is This is Dante signing off with the Incarcerate Us podcast, where all of our voices come together.
All calls other than properly placed attorney calls. The caller has hung up.